Last time out at Zolder, it was all about managing tyres in the second round of the championship. The field was pretty much split half and half between those starting on wets and those starting on dries. It was a very courageous move around the outside at turn 1 for the Mercedes. Didn't quite come off for him though, and the GT1 racing team BMW led the way. Mark Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock making their way up through the field before Marcus decided that the wets weren't working out for him and he came into the pits. Maxime Martin was absolutely flying up at the front. He moved his way into the lead while there were great dices behind. Matt Halliday having a little bit of contact with Thomas Jaeger. This, though, was the key moment of the race. Matt Halliday coming in and handing over to Mike Parisi, putting slick tyres on the Porsche, doing so earlier than the rest of the field. This allowed them to get their tyre temperature up higher than the rest as they struggled on slick tyres. Mike Parisi making 2 moves down 1 straight. Such was the impressive performance of the Porsche. He then moved past Alexei Vasiliev, who'd taken over from Maxime Martin, meaning that only the number 3 Ferrari stood between him and the lead. Other cars were struggling with their slick tyres, Nicky Pastorelli having a small spin at the exit of turn 1. The number 3 Ferrari got out of the pits fairly quickly, but their pit stop was a lot later in the race, and as a result their tyres were not up to temperature. Mike Parisi under-braking into turn 9, making the move stick and retaking the lead of the race. The Ferrari would take a couple more laps to get his tyres up to temperature. You can see how much he was struggling on the slicks. There were great battles throughout the field. Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff closing in on Enzo Ide, managed to get the overlap and make the move stick. This, though, summed up the WRT weekend. Stefano Telli hitting the back of Oliver Jarvis, and the double winners from Nogaro were sent spinning down the field. No one could catch Mike Parisi, though, and he took the win for himself and Matt Halliday and the Team Exim Bank China Porsche squad, much to their delight, and it moved them up into 2nd position in the championship. The 3rd round of the season takes place here at Navarra. Let's have a look at who's competing this weekend. Engine troubles for the number 6 Aston Martin of Andreas Zuber and Sergei Afanasiev mean they won't have had as much running as they would have liked this weekend. Maxime Martin is going to be joined by newcomer to GT1, Leo Machitsky.
Quite excited to be back in an Aston. Love the car, love Pro Drive. Obviously I had a big part to do with putting Team Russia together as well. Fair bit of pressure to not let Maxime down. I hope that I can live up to my own expectations and also the expectations of the team.
After winning round 1 in Nogaro, Stefano Telli and Laurens Vanthoor still lead the Drivers' Championship, but a difficult weekend in Zolder means they're going to have their work cut out if they want to retain it here. Frank Stippler is hoping that they have learnt their lessons from the difficult weekend communication-wise at Zolder, he partnering the 33 car with Oliver Jarvis.
Well, we had some meetings, we're talking about these things happened in Zolder, and I hope that we are in a good mood here to strike back.
The GT1 racing team got their season back on track in Zolder with a win in the qualifying race for the 18 car of Michael Bartels and Hjalmar Berman. Their teammates Matthias Lauda and Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff struggled a little bit, but Nicky is confident that the team has what it takes to get back towards the front of the field.
This weekend we have some catching up to do, and for us it was difficult weekends, the 1st and 2nd, but now we are fighting for the podium again. I think we get more and more to understand the car, and the team is working great, and we are really fighting, and I have good memories from last year, so I hope we can wrap it up and get some valuable points.
Since taking pole in the opening qualifying session of the season, the AF Corsa squad have struggled a little bit with their Ferrari 458. But Philippe Salaquada reckons that this hot weekend in Navarra will be just what it needs to get the squad back on track.
We should be quite fine in this condition. We hope it's not going to rain because the Ferrari on the dry conditions like this, it should be advantage for us a little bit. They also change some BOP, some less weight for us, so it should help. Hopefully we should be strong in qualifying, and our aim is to score on podium.
Sunred Racing are continuing to get to grips with their Ford GT. Matteo Cressoni and Milos Pavlovic at the wheel once again this weekend. And as team manager Joe Honoris says, there's still plenty more pace to come from this Ford GT.
We are here and we are improving as much as possible our car at this moment, and hope the second car will be ready for Algarve, and then the second car can enjoy with us the overseas races. So I hope really in Algarve we can have 2 cars on the track.
Fittingly for a circuit just outside of Pamplona, the raging bulls of Lamborghini have been unstoppable here in recent years. The past 2 FIA GT1 races have been won by a Lamborghini, and this gives Peter Cox a great deal of confidence.
I think the Lamborghini is going to be very strong. Already in the first year we were with the GT1 car, the Murcielago, the old style GT1 cars, the cars were competitive. And I think also the Gallardo we saw from last year's in Blancpain series. Car should be competitive, and the weather forecast is quite good, so it should be okay. We look forward to it.
Hexes are continuing to make progress with their McLaren MP4 12Cs, finishing first and second in Friday morning's practice session here in Navarra. And like the AF Corsa squad, Alvaro Parente is looking for a dry weekend to really get the maximum out of the car.
I'm really looking forward for this weekend. Hopefully we'll have a dry weekend all the time, just for us to see how the car and the setup and the work we've been doing on the car is going to be useful to us on the track, and see how our pace is and how competitive we are.
The Alinkel.com Munich Motorsports Mercedes-Benzes were unlucky to a degree in Zolder. Mark Basseng and Markus Winkelhock were leading the qualifying race when their throttle broke with only a few minutes to go. But the sister car of Nicky Pastorelli and Thomas Jaeger performed strongly, and they come into this weekend third place in the championship. Thomas Jaeger is looking for that form to continue this weekend.
Well, this weekend we hope to score points as the last weekends. I think that's the key for the championship. And yeah, we're well prepared, so hopefully everything works this weekend.
There's no Ren Wei this weekend in the Exim Team China Porsche, his seat being taken by Dino Lunardi, the reigning ADAC GT Masters champion. And in the sister car, Mike Parisi is excited for this weekend, having won the last race.
It was a great weekend in Zolder because it was our first victory for Team China, Exim Team China, for Porsche, for the Müllner team, for us drivers. So it was a very good experience. I think we can be very fast on several parts, and we hope for sure to repeat again here in Spain this weekend.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Navarra. It's the qualifying race for the third round of the 2012 FIA GT1 World Championship. And as I say, it's a dusk setting here, and that should provide us with a spectacular view for what will be a 1-hour race. We've already had some drama. The second place car joining the front row Writer Engineering car has already been pushed to the exit of the pit lane. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is John Watson. John, there's the front row car. It's going to be starting from the pits.
Well, what a disappointment for Michael Bartels and Jelmer Bellman to find the car with a last-minute problem, having to start this race from the pit. Well, there's the slot on the grid. It should have been on. They did a great job to get that car onto the front row of the grid alongside Peter Cox and Darrell Young in the Lamborghini. But something's risen. We'll hopefully bring that news from the pit lane before we get this race underway.
So there is the 18 car, and it will start from the pit lane, which is the good news. It did. I noticed it doing a couple of runs through the pits, but that's fairly normal to do a couple of reconnaissance laps. But there you can see this grid waiting to get underway. It will be a rolling start for this 1-hour race, and well, really, John, this is going to be, fingers crossed anyway, the first dry race we've had in GT1 this year properly, because in Nogaro and Zolder we've had a lot of issues. There you can see the team manager of the V1 racing team. He's chatting to the race director, probably asking, when do I leave the pits? Because some categories it's once the field has gone past, sometimes it's when they get to the end of sector 1, so that's going to make a big difference.
It certainly will do. I mean, certainly if you have to wait until everybody gets through sector 1, but you might as well pack it up now and say there's no point. Hopefully what will happen is that when the last car, once the lights go out, passes the end of the pit lane exit, then that will allow that car driven by Jelmer Berman to get into the race and hopefully provide the kind of drive that we would expect from the BMW. Michael Bartels, I beg your pardon, in the car. No, that's it. I thought it was Berman's. They just got mixed up with the two helmets there. Jelmer, you can see his name on the side of the helmet. But anyway, instructions being given to Jelmer Berman as to what is going to happen once the race gets underway. There will be another lap, which will be a parade lap. The car's just rolling now off the starting grid. And for Jelmer Berman sitting in the cockpit of the BMW Z4M, wondering what has gone wrong. All the hard work I did with my co-owner, teammate, driver, or whatever, and frustration. I mean, the most important thing is to remember, when you start from the pit lane, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Look at it from a positive point of view.
Exactly. He will be hoping that there's some melee down at turn 1 or something like that, which will allow him to benefit from that and avoid any trouble. So the cars making their way around this 15-cornered Navarra circuit in these dusk conditions. It's obviously only going to get darker. We're not going to get into pitch blackness, but it's going to be pretty spectacular watching these cars race. It's going to be the first race in earnest this weekend as Jelmer Berman, well, continues to sit in the car, and well, he's just got to gather his thoughts now. Presumably he went out and there was some kind of problem on the formation lap. Happily they've got it fixed, and it's going to be interesting. Let's have a look at the starting grid. So Peter Cox, well, it'll be Daryl O'Young actually starting the car on pole position, Jelmer Berman alongside him. The second row of the grid, the BMW of Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, the first BMW now, and Mike Parisi with him. Good qualifying from Alvaro Parente, his best qualifying of the season with that McLaren starting in 6th position. Also the Ford GT up in 7th place, Milos Pavlovic will be starting that car. It's great to see them. There you can see the white car with the blue stripes, thank you, shining his lights at us as well. Mark Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock struggling in their Mercedes towards the back. And then the back row of the grid is going to be Steph Dusseldorp and Dino Lenardi, with Sergei Afanasiev and Andreas Zuber out, which is good. Both the cars that didn't finish qualifying are out in the race. It's a fuel problem for the BMW, the number 18 car of Jelmer Berman. They're being a bit evasive exactly, yes, as to what the problem is. They don't know if they've got it fixed, but they're going to send it out.
It is strange because the McLaren of Fred McAfee also had a problem in qualifying, a fuel system problem. They fixed it, they believed, but what they did was, in fixing it, it was done in such haste that the seal around the tank, which prevents the fuel seeping out of the tank, wasn't seated properly. And when Fred McAfee went out and did a reconnaissance lap at the start of qualifying, he found a car with fuel seeping into it, which is not ideal, and therefore the team had no choice but to go back and do the job all over again, fitting new seals, and they now believe that this car will run both trouble-free and extremely competitively. The car will be started by Steph Dusseldorp. He will be in the car. Not maybe had as much track time in the car as he would have liked.
So the qualifying race for the third round of the championship about to get underway. It's going to be the Raging Bull just south of Pamplona that is on pole position. It's going to be alone on the front row, Daryl O'Young. The second row is Nicky Meyer-Melnhof and Mike Parisi. We wait for the lights to go green. Very, very tidy formation here from GT1, and away we go. Stunning start from the Ford GT, cutting to the inside line immediately. Daryl O'Young has struggled. Mike Parisi's coming up on the outside in the Porsche, but the Ford GT is going to take the lead, is it, as they all try and squeeze their way through turns 1 and 2. Parisi holds it. There's contact. They both get out of shape. The McLaren is through. Up the inside, Alvaro Parente leads this race. Somehow, the Lamborghini has managed to recover up into second place. What an action-packed first couple of corners. Big winner was the Porsche, one of the Mercedes being pushed wide. What a storming start from the Ford GT.
Did nobody tell these guys this is an hour-long race? You know, that was just aggression. But Milos Pavlovic, there you can see the Ford just ahead now of the Audi, and he was very aggressive, very forceful indeed, trying to put us the Ford up the inside. But he got a stunning start. Two Audis side by side. We saw Frank Stippler talking about driving within the same team, and Stippler and the sister Audi side by side, banging door handles into turn 8.
And they of course collided last time out at Zolder. Sending one up the inside there is the number 3 car of Philippe Salaquadra. He's battling hard with Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Meyer-Melnhof has the inside line. Salaquadra will send it up the inside into the left-hander at turn 11. Meyer-Melnhof gives him racing room and manages to hang it on around the outside. Surely he can't do it again into the next left-hander. Yes, he can. He's going out off the racing circuit. That's going to be an interesting one for the stewards to discuss. Milos Pavlovic still looking racy in there as well. Good start from Marcus Winkelhock, actually. He's climbed well up the field after a difficult qualifying for the Allegel.com Munich Motorsports Mercedes. But Nicky Meyer-Melnhof is backing the field up. This is allowing the race leaders to absolutely sprint clear here. So, across the line they come. McLaren leads in Alvaro Parente. Second is Darlow Young. It's everyone else for third position. The Ford GT is having to fend off the attack from the Mercedes.
I know it's not, it's just taking the attack. It's past both of them. It's trying to go round again. The Mercedes coming up the inside into turn one. And Pavlovich, it seems that the Ford GT has had a resurgence, not on just in handling, but in straight line performance. It just pulled out alongside the two SLS Mercedes-Benz and passed them as if they weren't there. McLaren running very wide on the outside of turn 4.
Oh, one of the Porsches on the inside line. That looked like it was Dino Lunardi being forced onto the grass. He manages to survive. Great start from Steph Dusseldorf up into 11th place in that second Hexus McLaren. So we've got McLaren leading McLaren in 11th position. We go on board. Look at this brilliant view. On board with Markus Winkelhock, looking back at Thomas Jaeger. He's flashing his lights at him, saying, "I'm quicker than you, teammate. Why don't you let me pass?" But I'd be surprised if Markus yields to that threat.
Well, that's a wasted effort, because there's no way your teammate's going to let you go through, other than you're driving with a wounded car. Markus Winkelhock, very experienced indeed, both in single-seaters, touring cars, GT cars. He knows the game, and he's not going to be suckered by it.
So, here we go then. Let's draw our breath just a little bit, but we've still got this great queue of cars. Niki Malnov then in third place has managed to fend off that early attack he was coming under from Felipe Salaquada, and as a result is just pulling away marginally. So as they come across the line to complete the second lap, Alvaro Parente, he was mighty fast in qualifying, and he is absolutely flying away in the race. He comes across the line and has a 3.8 second lead at the end of lap 2. Incredible stuff. Here come the two Mercedes, absolutely at it. This is one of the best views that I've ever seen in motor racing, because I just got him. Oh, he's gone a little bit wide there. No, just differing lines into turn 1, through turn 2 as well.
Yeah, I think that there was just an option of taking a late entry or an early entry into turn 2, and that was just to try and get track position. As we see the second of the two McLarens, that's the Fred Makiewicz.
So we go on board with the Porsche, and he is coming under a reasonable amount of pressure now from Steph Dusseldorf, who, after finishing the first lap in 11th, is now in the 9th. So he is really making some progress. You can see there he's just got past Laurens Vanthoor into the right-hander, and then down the long back straight. Is the Audi going to be able to stick with him, as these cars running very line astern down into the hairpin? Very, very late on the brakes. We're expecting braking to... Well, you can see the damage, yeah.
Absolutely, that car's been really hammered. And that's Dino Lunardi in the second of the two Exelbank China cars. Heavy, heavy damage. The danger with the Porsche is you've got not just the water radiators, but the oil radiators separate side to side in the nose of a Porsche 911 RS. So hopefully no damage to those, but it is the most vulnerable part of a 911.
Yep, so into turn 13 they come. It's not going to be long before Dino Lunardi is under pressure. Well, he's under pressure from Zach Stippler. It won't be long before Stippler makes an attack, I would have thought. But it's good to see that second Exelbank China Porsche really getting up and involved in this battle. Through the final corner then, there is the car that started from the pit lane, Jelmer Berman, down in 15th position. Is he going to make a move into turn 1? He is queued right up behind Albert von Turn and Taxis. He's not quite close enough, and here, well, instead it's the Porsche going on the attack. Dino Lunardi versus Laurens Vanthoor. Semi-look up the inside from Lunardi, but not close enough this time around.
Whereas the other, Mike Parisi, right on the tail of the two Mercedes, being chased by the second of the McLarens. And that is, of course, Steph Dusseldorf, and we wait to see whether that McLaren is going to be able to make further progress, or will he be stalled out now with the battle of the two Mercedes plus the Porsche. Three manufacturers all looking for the same bit of tarmac.
Well, we've had a change around in position since they crossed the line. Winkelhock was ahead of Jaeger, but the two Mercedes are now the other way around. Jaeger ahead of Markus Winkelhock, so that's what allowed Mike Parisi to come into the fight. And he, of course, was in the lead of the race going into turn 2. So Parisi will be a very frustrated little Frenchman in that 8th position car. We go on board with the McLaren of Steph Dusseldorf then into this left-hander. This this is the kind of area of the circuit, especially into the final corner, where it's possible to overtake.
Yeah, but also you're now having to deal with the fact that the sun is sinking down, and as you're coming into turns 10, 11 and 12, the sun is right in your eye line as you turn into those corners. So another little frustration that no one's had to contend with, because this is the first time this weekend that any of these competitors have been on track at this time of evening. 10 to 8 here at Navarra.
Yep, absolutely. Out of the final corner they come, and one of those Mercedes, Marcus Winkelhock, not coping with that corner very well, and that allows the Porsche to get alongside. We know the Porsche is strong in a straight line, and Mike Parisi moves up into 7th position. He's having to go defensive now because we're on board with Steph Dusseldorp, who also has got past the Mercedes, so 2 positions lost, all from an error at the final corner from Marcus Winkelhock. Is he going to send one up the inside into turn 3? No, he's not. So that moves Parisi in the Porsche up to 7th, and Dusseldorp in the McLaren up to 8th.
Watch Steph Dusseldorp coming down into turn 5. He's not going to make it past there. He may think about going up the inside into turn 6. Exactly, that's what I was about to say. I thought that the McLaren might find a slot up the inside, more grip than the Porsche, and fundamentally a more competitive car. And that's what Steph Dusseldorp did. It was aided by the fact that Mike Parisi got a little bit out of shape, but that's what I was waiting to see happen. Yep. Thank you very much. That was a good job, Steph Dusseldorp.
Thomas Jaeger got out of shape in front in the Mercedes, which is what I spotted. Then this man, Mike Parisi, had a little bit of an out of shape in sympathy. And look, the second Porsche is coming in to join the party now as well. Dino Lunardi has got past Laurens Vanthoor on this lap. There is racing everywhere. This is fantastic stuff as they come into the left-hander then.
And it's the first time this Porsche number 8, Dino Lunardi car's had an outing driven as it has been driven. And it has been driven every bit as quickly as Mike Parisi, the acknowledged Porsche expert, and looking to challenge, ultimately, the position that Mike Parisi is in.
Yeah, so here comes Mike Parisi. Marcus Winkelhock right up behind him. Their best lap last time around, Parisi was fractionally quicker because Winkelhock got it all wrong coming out of this final corner. The Ford GT is one to watch as well, in 5th position, slowly closing in on Philippe Salaquada.
But the one to watch we haven't seen. That's the lead car.
Yeah, exactly.
6.1 seconds ahead, and that's at the end of 5 laps. It's pulled out a second a lap over the first 5 laps of this race. That is an amazing performance. Looking back, Steph Dusseldorp now getting locked up behind the back of the Mercedes. Again, difficult to find a part of the racetrack to use the strengths of the McLaren, which will be primarily under braking and under cornering. It's not going to be able to do an awful lot on certain parts of the track. Straight line performance on the McLaren vis-a-vis the Mercedes SLS has to go a little bit in favour of the McLaren. They've been given some leeway in the benefit of the BOP, which is the balance of performance factor.
So into turn 8 they come, and if the straight line speed is going to help them, it's going to help them down this long back straight. You can see actually Nicky Meyer-Malnoff, from being in trouble in the early laps, has started to close in now on Darrell Young. No moves being made down there into the hairpin. I say that. Here comes Jelmer Berman sending one up the inside of Enzo Eid. Eid gets the cutback, and well, Jelmer really needed to get the car stopped in time a little bit. Cars 8 and 24, so that's Dino Lunardi and Albert von Taxis are under investigation for the start. There was quite a heated debate actually in the driver's briefing about the rolling start, and it seems that Lunardi and Albert von Taxis perhaps have suffered a little bit.
Yeah, but the one that got the start that was the most amazing of all was Milos Pavlovic, who came from the 4th row of the grid, and it just looked like that car was lit up and had 100 horsepower on the old afterburner, and he just went from the 4th row of the grid to joint leader, or just joint second place I should say, coming into turn 1 and 2. Look at the McLaren trying to find a way past the Mercedes up the straight. Gets alongside, it will have taken advantage, but they're side by side in turn 1.
Outside at turn 1 surely isn't going to come off for the McLaren. We'll wait and see. No, he's gone very, very wide
and
indeed.
And once for the Porsche to take that back, tyres on the McLaren will have picked up rubbish and gravel and whatever on the outside of the corner.
We also had Dino Lunardi trying to go around the outside of Marcus Winkelhock behind them as well. Battles everywhere. Parisi looking to the inside, is he? We go on board with Winkelhock. This is the battle further back. You can tell, you normally can't tell the two Porsches apart, but now you can, because Lunardi has shunted the front end. So maybe he could do that at the start of every race. It would really help us out here in the commentary box. But this battling has well, Jaeger now has got a little bit of a gap, hasn't he, from the McLaren, so that's going to help him. Here's the battle over second place between Nicky Meyer-Malnoff in 3rd and Darrell Young in 2nd. So we've got a few nice battles developing. Of course, worth pointing out, if you're new to GT1, we've got pit stop windows coming up with 35 minutes remaining. All the cars have to pit, swap drivers, get back out there and finish the race.
Well, we're just 48 minutes of the race remaining, so there's still a little bit of time for this battle. The individual, look at the Ford, the way the Ford left out to the right. Unbelievable start from Pavlovich.
Yeah, he got to the inside line very, very quickly when the lights went green, and then, well, he was just over-optimistic, really. I don't think he was alongside Parisi, and then there was a bit of contact, actually, between Young and Pavlovich as he tried to come back, but all safely through turn 3, which was good to see. This is looking back, I think, from Mike Parisi, so we're going to see. Oh, this will be a great view, actually, because the Ford is there on the inside. He's still going to try and stick it up the inside into turn 2. There's going to be a bit of contact. There it is. Parisi does well to hold it, really.
If you ever want an example of winning a race in the first corner or losing a race in the first corner, that's about it. Nevertheless, back as the McLaren got ahead of the...
Yes, yeah. So that means that Steph Dusseldorf has got past Thomas Jaeger then and is up into 6th position from the back of the grid. Good work indeed from the McLaren as they come through the left-hander then at turn 5 up into the difficult, tighter left-hander of turn 6, and already the McLaren is starting to pull away, and he's going to be closing in on the Ford GT in front of him before too long, I would have thought.
Well, the speed of the Ford GT in a straight line we saw off the start, it's probably the quickest car on the straight here in this evening's race. Nevertheless, the lap time of the McLaren, as we were saying, the Steph Dusseldorf, he will close down to the back of the Ford within a lap. It may even be as soon as starting on the lap 8, the lap 7 right now. If we can get the Dusseldorf McLaren onto the tail of the Pavlovich Ford, well, it's not going to happen this lap. One more lap, he'll be right there.
Yeah, Alvaro Parente at the front of the field, running about 0.3 of a second quicker than anyone else. And Darrell Young is starting. Well, Darrell Young is the slowest of the top 7, actually, top 8. So it won't be long. There's our race leader, Alvaro Parente, in the Hexus McLaren. And then Darrell Young currently in 2nd position on that last lap, as I say. Slowest man of the top 8. And Nicky Meyer-Malnov is starting to reel him in. It was half a second at the end of that last lap. The gap has gone up a little bit. Yeah. So he's found a bit of pace, Darrell.
No, I mean, clearly Nicholas Meyer-Malnov, he did drop back. He was much closer to the tail of the Lamborghini a lap ago. He dropped back on lap 7, and now he's going to try and do it all over again, as we see the two Audis who did get together in turn 8 on the opening lap now back together racing literally. Will it be door handle to door handle, or will they have learned from that little bit of let's say lack of cooperation between the two teammates?
Yeah, well, exactly. We saw it on this lap. We saw it in Zolder as well. Oh, I thought that was going to be a bit of a late lunge going down into turn 5. So look at this. He's already with him in Steph Dusseldorf in that Hexus McLaren, right up behind the Ford GT. Into the right-hander they come. The GT, a very powerful car in a straight line. We saw that at the start, but the Hexus is a nimble little thing. Looks to the inside just to let Milos Pavlovich know he's there, because Pavlovich won't have had to worry about any attack from behind for the majority of this race.
No, and also the reason he pulls out is to get that McLaren into clear air. You don't want it running in the dirty air of a car directly ahead of you, but we are now where I anticipated we would be, one lap. We're now onto the tail of the Ford GT, but for Steph Dusseldorf, he has to be patient. He can't try and maintain that momentum too aggressively, otherwise he will have contact. His best chance is going to be stick with the Ford all the way through the exit of turn 13, flat out through the left-hander into 14. Don't attempt to pass down the inside into 15. Position yourself to get the best exit possible out of the final turn on. Bodywork on the McLaren is detaching. The left front part of the bodywork has detached from the McLaren.
But here he comes, looking to the inside on the run down into turn 1. There's nothing between them. He's now got the overlap. We go on board and into turn 1. Steph Dusseldorf is going to move up into 5th position. Milos Pavlovich may try and get the cut back, but I don't think he's going to be able to. The McLaren up into 5th place now. 4th man, Felipe Zalaquada, is up in front of him. If he keeps up this kind of pace, we could be looking at a McLaren 1-2.
Well, I tell you what, it would be great if it was the case, but I'm concerned about the bodywork on the McLaren. We saw it flapping as he came out of turn 15, but he got a good run. He got the drive off the corner, and that's what he needed. The Ford didn't quite get the power down, and the McLaren used all its benefits. Let's have a look and see where the body, that front section, it's not looking quite so bad as it did through turn 15, but we need to keep an eye on it, because once something becomes detached then it's never going to reattach itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So they might just grab a bit of gaffer tape at the pit stop or something just to seal that up. As you say, it looks like it's through the slower corners that it really affects. So
also, there are bits of the circuit where it's slightly bumpier than others, and that in itself is made. Now coming out of turn 13, and he goes all the way across the track. And you can see the McLaren, a stiffly sprung car, lifting the wheel, in fact, going through the corner. There we can see the bodywork. It's actually just one of those aerodynamic.
Well, that's Alvaro Parent. He's our race leader, isn't he? So he comes across the line.
Well, that's how it should look. Yeah. That's what I meant to say. That's how it should look.
Across the line he comes.
And look at the left hand.
Parent is already, Dusseldorp is already on the back of Philippe Salaquada as they exit the final corner, and all of a sudden Milos Pavlovic has been put up a little bit. Ferrari versus McLaren, this is what we've wanted to see. We're on board with the McLaren. He's on the outside on the run down into turn 1. He's going to try and stick it around the outside, and he's done it. Fantastic stuff. There's nothing Philippe Salaquada could do about that, but what a great move from Steph Dusseldorp. That was bravery.
Oh, absolutely brave, but also well committed. He made his intention abundantly clear. He got along the outside, but on the outside line, he had to have faith in the car that he could go round the corner alongside the Ferrari. He had, and the Ferrari had to back out of it, and with a great job by Dusseldorf, he's now up into 4th place, and well, he's from 13 seconds behind his teammate and race leader Alvaro Parent.
But he's only 2.5 seconds behind 2nd place man Daryl O'Young, so that's got to be the aim as we continue to watch this battle that is quieting down a little bit. Thomas Jaeger and Mike Parisi. Battle for 2nd place is still on as well, so we've got all sorts going on. Philippe Dumas, the principal there at Hexis Racing, is down with Haley.
Philippe, both cars are delivering some fantastic racing. Will Steph's car be okay though?
Yeah, I think it's okay. It's on a good way, and it's good to be here. We had hard work since the beginning of the year, and but you know that the race is never finished, so we are in a really good pace. We had a lot of testing here during the winter, so we'll see.
And is the loose bonnet going to be okay for Steph until he gets out of the car?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Thank you.
So, no trouble, says Philippe Dumas, as they exit and head down the start-finish straight. And so we've got Daryl O'Young in 2nd place, Nicky Meyer-Malnov in 3rd, 4th place Steph Dusseldorp, who lapped 1 second quicker than Nicky Meyer-Malnov on that last lap. These McLarens, we've waited till round 3, but they've come alive now.
I've been saying it since the start of the 2012 season that the McLaren is the nearest thing to an out-and-out race car that is a pure GT car at the same time. In fact, the road-going version of the NP412C is not at all similar to that of the race version, the GT1 version, because the road car has a hydraulic active suspension on it, whereas the race car, it is prohibited in GT1 regulations to run active suspension, so it has to go back to a normal coil suspension with traditional shock absorbers. And the work that has been put into developing this car to make it into a race car, aside from being a brilliant road car, well, finally we're getting some indication of what it's all about.
Okay, so we've got 40 minutes remaining in this FIA GT1 qualifying race from Navarra, which I have to say is brilliant news, because this is turning into a bit of a fantastic race. Oh, big slide from the Ford GT on the exit there of turn 11. Keeps it all together, but it's not going to be long before Milos Pavlovic starts to come under pressure from Thomas Jaeger. I wouldn't be surprised, as we're still seeing Jelmer Berman carve his way up through the field. On board we go with him. He looks to the outside of Laurens Vanthoor. He's been following Vanthoor for a large amount of laps now, and this is a fantastic onboard. I mean, just listen to this engine. And then on the downshift, thinks about sending one up the inside.
He was having a look.
His nose, doesn't he? But
yeah, I mean, doing that, there's a very good reason why your driver will do that. One thing is to get the driver that you're challenging to think that you're all over it. Now we're looking at further down the field. And
so he's got ahead.
He's got ahead.
Yeah, so that means that Steph Dusseldorp is past Nicky Meyer-Malnov and up into 3rd place. So the next man he's got to pass is Daryl O'Young.
And then it will be a McLaren one too.
Exactly. So then, of course, we'll have to wait and see how the pit stops transpire, because you would suggest from... there was a look up the inside from Mike Parisi.
Indeed, it was.
Into turn 5, does he make it through? No, he doesn't.
He thought better of it because he wasn't alongside the Mercedes coming into turn 5. You must be, if you want to make a move there, you've got to be squarely alongside the car. Otherwise, it will end up trouble for both cars.
Yeah, absolutely so. The interesting thing that I was just about to say is that arguably the McLarens have a faster driver in their second car. So Fred Makovicky, who's currently in third place, I would suggest is quicker than Grégoire de Moustier, certainly this weekend from the lap times we've seen. So that could be pretty entertaining as well. There you can see Oliver Jarvis getting his protective gear on, getting ready to take over. Pit stop window opens in 3 minutes now, but we've still got battles to be resolved. So we've got to keep an eye out on Darrell O'Young in second place. He's going to have Steph Dusseldorp right up with him before too long. We've also got Mike Parisi desperate to get past that Mercedes. And, well, what's that timing showing? Oh, he's timing every lap, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the two McLarens are the only two cars on the track that are running in the 1 minute 40 second lap time. Everybody else is doing a 41 or further down the field, even slower lap times. So Steph Dusseldorp now within challenging distance to Darrell O'Young in the second place Lamborghini. I mean, it's going to be somewhere towards the end of this lap. It could be midway through the lap if the McLaren pace is so strong, and Darrell O'Young, who's going to face a challenge from Steph Dusseldorp, who one might like to think is probably the slightly more competitive of the two.
So we've just seen drive-through penalty for Dino Lenardi for not holding position before the start signal. We've also got one for Albert von Turnhen-Taxis. So Lenardi in 9th and Turnhen-Taxis in 15th. Both have a drive-through penalty. Luckily, that doesn't affect the race overall too much. The Ford goes wide, and he's lost two. Oh, that's a real shame. That is, yeah, no, it's a definite problem for the Ford GT.
Well, I mean, is it a mechanical problem, or has he run out of talent?
It looks like it's going pretty slowly, doesn't it? Because I can't see any puncture. That's a real shame. What a fantastic effort Milos Pavlovic has put in. Qualified, well, he finished 6th in the second segment of qualifying that he was doing. He made a mega start, almost took the lead of the race, but now it looks as though retirement beckons to the Ford GT. But that's a positive for them. That's a positive.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the fact is that they've been given some relief in terms of BOP, and they've used it to the max, and good on them for doing it, because this team has worked tirelessly to try and get a car which was not competitive when we went to the first round in Nagaro. It was a little bit more competitive in Zolder, and here showed itself to be capable of running as a very strong midfield, if not challenging some of the front-running teams.
Here we go. Steph Dusseldorp's got a great run on the Lamborghini. He looks to the inside. Lamborghini comes across, but Darrell O'Young doesn't cover the move in time, and Steph Dusseldorp glides through up the inside. McLaren first, McLaren second. Peter Cox shakes his head.
No, Darrell O'Young was never going to put a hard move on Steph Dusseldorp. It's not within the nature of the driver. Peter Cox, who sat there shaking his head, would have done, because it's in Peter Cox's nature. It's just Peter Cox is an out-and-out professional driver. Darrell Young is a very talented driver, but he probably makes his fortune out of going hedge funds and all that sort of stuff.
So Darrell Young, who also competes in the World Touring Car Championship as well, so I wonder if Peter Cox wasn't suited and booted, was he, by the looks of things? So he can't have been too eager to get out. Vita Fawano ready. The Ford GT has come down the pit lane. There he is. And, well, let's see what they do. Obviously, it's too early to actually change the driver, but I fear it'll be the end of the day for the Sun-Red Ford GT at their home race. Hopefully they can put on as good a show as they have today. Yesterday, finally the move being made by Yelmer Berman. No.
Never, ever had a chance of making that stick. Wasn't sufficiently alongside the Audi, and if he had tried it and he attacked the back of the Audi, he would have been done for an avoidable incident, and it would have been quite rightly so.
Yeah, so it looks as though Matthias Lauda was getting ready very, very wide from Mike Parisi as he continues to push for all he's worth to try and get past that Mercedes. We've got, they're streaming into the pits then at the earliest possible opportunity. Who have we got coming in? We've got Darrell O'Young coming in to hand over to Peter Cox. We've got Nicky Meyer-Melnoff coming in to hand over to Matthias Lauda. We've got Philippe Salaquada coming in to hand over to Tony Verlander. We've got Thomas Jaeger coming in to hand over to Nicky Pastorelli as well. That's it for the moment, that's all.
Just had that all in one breath.
Yeah, exactly. So there you can see Matthias Lauda. He's going to be taking over that BMW.
Peter Cox will be in. No, this is not Peter Cox.
So that'll be that will be.
That's Peter Cox taking over from Darrell Young. I mean, Darrell Young did a very, very good job. Took the advantage of the squabbling in turn one on the opening lap. Held a solid second place, and it was only the last couple of laps where we saw Steph Dusseldorp in the charging McLaren, the number one car, make a pass and get in narrowly young at the earliest opportunity. Matthias Lauda, there's Peter Cox going out, so we'll need another few minutes. Oh, and look at that, he's unhappy. He's unhappy.
Not well. They've lost a lot of places. They came into the pits in a net fourth place, wasn't it? But they're now
the
behind.
Ferrari pit stop. What's going on there?
They're now behind the Ferrari. They're now behind the Lamborghini, as we saw. So that is not a good pit stop. We'll see how that all shakes out once we can get our heads around it at the end of this. Enzo Ida's handed over now to Francesco Castellacci. But there, still, our race leader, Alvaro Parente. He's got a 13-second lead over his teammate. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised when he comes in, hands over to de Moustier and Dusseldorp. Well, here we go. Into the pits comes Steph Dusseldorp. He's going to be handing over to Fred Macavicki. And I expect Fred Macavicki to be something close to rapid in this McLaren when he gets in it.
Yes, but I think what Alvaro Parente will do to balance that is to stay out until the last possible moment before he hands that car over to Gregoire de Moustier to ensure that the speed of the McLaren, the leading McLaren, effectively running in clear air, choosing any part of the racetrack it wants to run in, and then it's going to be down to Gregoire de Moustier to try and consolidate the work done by Alvaro Parente, whereas Fred Macavicki will only know one thing, that'll be max attack and try and chase down the sister McLaren.
So we've got a couple of cars in the pits, as you can see. Out of the pits goes Fred Macavicki, then he was taken over. This might work out for Mike Parisi, because all of a sudden he's got some clear air, and he may be able to use that clear air to leapfrog the Mercedes. The problem Mullner have, who are running the Exim Team China, is they're used to endurance racing, so their pit stops aren't necessarily as slick as those of Audi or Hexis. And well, here comes one of the Audis down the pit lane. Let's see where he comes out. All of this actually has promoted the 37 car of Nicky Pastorelli. He's now in front of Peter Cox, so I'm not quite sure. Finally, Jelmer Berman is through. Up the inside, getting past the 33 car of Frank Stippler, and Jelmer Berman, the move he's been trying to make for the first half an hour of this race, has finally come off, and he'll probably come into the pits in a minute.
He's got 5.5 minutes in which he can stay legitimately out on track. Now, whether it's in the interest to keep Jelmer Berman in that car and Michael Bartels let him do the final 25 minutes or not, we don't know. We see Audi preparing, but Audi is coming back. It's not prepared to give up that position to the BMW Z4M, but the Audi's into the pits.
So into the pits comes the Audi.
Frank Stipper bringing that car in.
Yep.
And Jarvis loosening up some exercises just to ensure that when it comes to jumping into the car, it's so easy if your body's not warm that you could just put a small muscle in your back or your shoulder or trap. I mean, it happens. They're Oliver doing the job of traffic cop.
So where are they going to feed out in all of this? And there is the changeover. So it's all gone a bit quiet here on the pit straight, because the main pack are going to be coming towards us shortly. As into the pits comes Albert von Turn Taxis to hand over to Thomas Enger. This is looking like a fairly slick pit stop. There's the drive-through, or is that the drive-through penalty? No, it is the changeover now. Albert von Turn Taxis to Thomas Enger. So, across the line then comes our net second place car, which is the McLaren. Out goes the Audi. This might work out pretty well actually for the Audi, because if we look at the start-finish straight, roaring through is Mark Basseng. So I think Mark Basseng is now in a net third place. Net fourth is going to be his teammate, who's coming under pressure. Then fifth place is going to be Peter Cox. Sixth is going to this Ferrari, and it's seventh place. I think we'll have to wait till it all shakes out, but that'll be my prediction. Seventh place for Oliver Jarvis, although we've still got Mike Parisi and Jelmer Berman to pit as well. So when the pit stop window is fully closed, we'll give you a full rundown of exactly what's going on, but still out front, Alvaro Parente.
And I believe he's going to stay in that car until the last moment when he needs to come in and hand over, because he is the driver of the two that's capable of doing the best job in consolidating the charge for Fred Macavicki, who is now in the Steph Dusseldorf car, and that was always going to be the major threat to the lead car, that when Gregoire de Moustier gets into it, Fred Macavicki might try to simply overwhelm him by pace.
So here comes Peter Cox then. He's going to be putting under attack Nicky Pastorelli through the hairpin.
Look, Macavicki, fastest first sector, fastest second sector.
Yeah, purple in sectors 1 and 2. So this is going to be a new fastest lap of the race for Fred Macavicki. And incident between car 4 and 7 is under investigation. So that's, yeah, of course, the car, well, that'll be Enzo Eid and Leonard Machitsky. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but nevertheless, there is a new fastest lap of the race. Fred Makovic, 1 minute 38.781. What a storming lap, the quickest lap we've seen all weekend, and it's come in a race. Fantastic stuff. Here comes the Lamborghini then, attacking to the outside. Nicky Pastorelli, the 29-year-old from The Hague in the Netherlands, is going very defensive towards the inside. The Mercedes has been a bit dodgy through there. Sparks flying as the car bottoms out on the inside curb. Surely the cutback here for Peter Cox. Can't quite get it through enough, but what a great battle.
But you can see where Peter Cox is coming from. It was almost like a missed gear, but you can't miss a gear on a pedal shift. So through turn 4, the Lamborghini looked like it was going to get a bit of a move alongside the Mercedes. The advantage has come back to the Mercedes through turn 5. This long corner that leads eventually into turn 6. Back to status quo. The lead car is now in.
So Alvaro Parente handing over to Gregoire de Moustier. There you can see Parente with his Portuguese colours on his helmet. And this kind of lap times from Fred Makovic could well see him. I don't think he's quite going to have the pace to leapfrog him, but he's certainly going to have closed in. Surely, allez is the shout from the exit team.
Did they change only on the left side tyre?
I think they changed all the tyres. I'm not. It may have just been the angle we saw at. Also in, Mike Parisi handing over to Matt Halliday. That's going to be very interesting to see where they come out. I tell you what, there is Fred Makovic then, and he exits the final corner now. So there is the gap between our two race leaders, the two McLarens. And Makovic on this lap comes across the line. 1 minute 38.7 last time, 1 minute 38.7 again. That's the consistency of a driver like Fred Makovic. He has only got 5 or 6 seconds to close in.
And of course, Gregoire de Moustier will be out on. Gregoire de Moustier is going to be marginally in terms of on his out lap, whereas Fred Makovic has done his out lap. He's had one flying lap. His tyres are up to speed, and apparently we had just had confirmation from the pit lane that there was a 4-tyre top change on the second of the two, well, not the second, effectively the leading McLaren of Gregoire de Moustier.
So there is Matt Halliday. He's come out of the pits not ideally, really. I think that's 9th position for Matt Halliday. So I thought that strategy may keep them a little bit higher up the field, but alas, that's not turned out to be the case. Nicky Pastorelli seems to have held off the attentions of Peter Cox for the moment anyway, as we see Michael Bartels then about to take over from Jelmer Berman, because this is the last pit stop to be made. Remember, this car started from the pit lane, so wherever they finish, it'll be interesting to see how far they can climb. It's been a decent stint from Jelmer Berman as he comes into the pits, and he has, well, his last lap was a 40.2, so he's had some decent pace actually, Jelmer Berman. This could be a good effort for them as they change all 4 tyres. McLaren is just coming out of the final corner, so it's not going to be first or second for the BMW, but he's going to be in the mix for kind of 4th, 5th and 6th places, I'd have thought. He comes down the pit lane, so he's in 3rd place. He might be able to hang on to this 3rd position, you know, because I can't see anyone coming out of the final corner just yet. There's the Mercedes. Marc Basseng, he's going to be on it with hot tyres. This is going to be pretty close, but whatever happens, this has been a storming drive. Out of the pits he comes, and he's not going to hold it. Basseng, or is he?
Oh, he is.
It's going to be very, very close.
No, he's going to make it.
But Basseng will have the speed. Basseng will have the speed. Into here he goes, outside of turn 2. The Mercedes have been struggling here all weekend, and Berman has just about held on for the time being.
Well, Michael Bartels might be holding on as well.
Yes, Michael Bartels, sorry, who has, of course, just taken over that BMW. So, incredibly, from the pit lane, Michael Bartels and Jelmer Berman are now up into 3rd place.
And believe me, Michael Bartels is not somebody who's going to give up position, having in particular used the advantage of staying out until the last possible moment. Remember, this car started from the pit lane. They stayed out. The pit lane closed within about 15 or so seconds to get out before the pit lane window was shut, and they've taken full advantage, and they've managed to slot themselves in just ahead of Marc Basseng in the lead of the 2 SLS Mercedes.
So we go on board then with Marc Basseng, and well, it's German team owner versus German team owner, isn't it, in the battle for 3rd position. But we go back to this battle, which is going on and on. Peter Cox desperate to try and find a way past Nicky Pastorelli. He must be Don't forget, Peter Cox took pole position, so to now be running in 6th position must be very frustrating for him. He's also got that AF Corsa Ferrari behind him of Tony Verlander, so this is a 3-way train over 5th place.
Yeah, the trouble is that they're all bunching each other up. So basically, Nicky Pastorelli has slowed the pace down. We're still trying to see Mark Pessang desperate to get back on turn, get past ahead of that BMW of Martels.
So out of the final corner, trying to, kicking up a bit of gravel there, trying to use as much of the road as possible and a little bit more. He'll now tuck into the slipstream of the Mercedes, which struggles a little bit in a straight line, the heaviest car out there in GT1, but no troubles for it just yet. Of course, Peter Cox didn't help himself by taking in a load of gravel. Tony Verlander is going to be in the box seat really to make a move, because he is pretty close to the back of that Lambo.
Well, Verlander is potentially the quickest of all those cars, but of course again he's got to wait and find the right opportunity, and coming down through turn 4 nothing can happen. Turn 5 very difficult. Verlander dropping back a little bit behind the Lamborghini just to ensure that he doesn't get too close and therefore have to lose too much momentum. Again closes up fractionally into turn 6, then the cut back through 7. Nothing he can do in this part of the racetrack. He's just got to be patient, and even down the next part of the circuit, this is the second quickest, the second straight, if you like to call it, at Navarra. He's not close enough to generate any aerodynamic lift. The Lamborghini gets a great old suck from the Mercedes. It's like a massive void behind it of clear air.
Nothing he can do with it just yet, though, Peter Cox. 22 minutes remaining in this race. Into the pits comes Dino Lunardi. Well, sorry, not Dino Lunardi. He's handed over now, of course, to Benjamin Lariche.
And he's clearly got a problem.
Yeah, I can't quite hear what he's saying, but he's chatting to Bernard Mulner, and Benjamin not particularly happy with how the Porsche is, and that's a real shame, because things were looking good for Porsche and Dino Lunardi and Benjamin Lariche as well. But here comes the battle again. Peter Cox wider on the entry every time. I don't know whether it's Pastorelli going defensive, but he never gets a very good drive out. He's going to squeeze Peter Cox against the pit wall, side by side on the run down into turn 1, and they're pretty much matched for straight line speed, but Peter Cox is going to have track position. Pastorelli might try and be brave, or he might try and get the cutback. Let's see as he comes into turn 2. He's not going to be close enough, so Peter Cox, good move, got the best exit out of the final corner, and he's up into 5th place.
And you can see the drive that Peter Cox got off turn 15. He just mothered the Mercedes in terms of acceleration, that initial acceleration. Had to go really aggressive to get alongside. Once he did so, he was never going to allow the Mercedes to have a chance to come back. Nicky Pastorelli knows that a hardened professional driver like Peter Cox knows all the tricks, and once he was alongside the Mercedes, well, effectively it was all done. But it's this car here, Tony Verlander, I would expect him to now be very quickly up into competition with the Mercedes. Look, comes out, shows the nose of the car, hasn't got the speed, but is just trying to get Nicky Pastorelli to look in his mirror and forget about what's going on ahead.
Now, while we're watching this great battling, I'll just keep you up to date with the race lead. It's coming down by a second a lap. Gregoire de Moustier being closed in by the second McLaren of Fred Makovicky, so that'll be one to watch in maybe 2 or 3 laps time. But at the moment we're watching Tony Verlander take far too much curb. There you can see the lead. In fact, it was 3.8 seconds. It is now 2.8 seconds. It's exactly a second.
Now,
pretty much every lap.
If you follow the McLaren, if you like, Grand Prix tradition, there are never any team orders. There is nothing done on the pit lane to stop their 2 drivers racing, other than if you take each other off, you get a P45 in the boat.
Absolutely. So we'll see how that transpires, probably, as I say, in a couple of laps. Across the line, though, comes Tony Verlander in that red AF Corsa Ferrari. We go on board with him as he chases down the Alinkel.com Munich Motorsports Mercedes. Thought he might fancy a look here, because we know the Mercedes is very, very difficult to drive through that turns 1 and 2 and 3 complex. Gets the cutback to the inside. This is going to be a brave one if he sends it up the inside. Oh, I think Nicky Pastorelli saw him coming.
Pastorelli had to run wide. I mean, there was never an objective, or whatever you want to describe it, overtaking opportunity. But it's a frustration on the part of Verlander. You could see he was clearly quicker in turns 2 and into turn 3. The Mercedes is having to get off the throttle and stay off the throttle longer than the Ferrari is able to do.
Yep. So when can Tony Verlander next create an overtaking opportunity? Here are the race leaders again, closing down very, very quickly with one another. And well, there you can see it's been, well, it was 1.5 seconds on lap 21, but yeah, the last 2 laps have been a second. I imagine it's going to be something similar this time around. It's 0.7 of a second in the first 2 sectors.
Just as Peter Cox seemingly not really able to pull away as rapidly as I would have thought. I mean, it was a pass up the inside into turn 2 that he got the job done.
1.2 seconds the gap came down that last time. So Fred Makovicky, before too long and comfortably before the end of the race, is going to be on the back of Grégoire de Moustier. Exactly how that battle pans out.
Taking just over a second, just under a second, just under. I mean, that is a substantial amount of time from 2 drivers in identical cars. Grégoire de Moustier has done all that has been asked of him, and Fred Makovicky, as you'd expect, he's like a little version of a Highland Terrier, just doesn't know when to let go.
No, absolutely. Fred Makovicky has had plenty of experience racing these cars. Let's hear from his teammate, Steph Dusseldorp. Can he close in and take the win?
Steph, Fred's got over a second on Grégoire, but the fantastic racing between the 2 teammates. Are they going to continue racing, or are there some team orders?
I have no idea. I think they're going to continue racing because there is always some competition in the team, and would be a really good race if we finish first. Second is would be perfect as well, but in the end we all drive for first place, so I hope he can overtake him.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, just watching the pace of Fred Makovicky, I get the sense that maybe he has actually backed off. It'd be interesting to see when both cars come across the start-finish line whether Makovicky still enjoys that second of a lap advantage and speed over Grégoire de Moustier.
Well, we're about to find out. The gap was 1.7 seconds. As they come across the line, it is 0.8 seconds.
Yep,
so he's still going for it, isn't he?
He still is. It just looked at in that final part of the circuit that the speed that we've seen from Fred Makovicky, which was pretty evident on screen, wasn't there. But you can see again in turn 2 into turn 3. Makovicky is the quicker of the 2 drivers in these McLarens. Again, it's going to be either a very simple pass.
So into the left-hander at turn 5 they come.
I mean, you're just asking the question is, why is Fred Makovicky quicker? He just fundamentally is a quicker driver. He just has got more ability. He understands motor racing more. He brakes there. You can see him marginally later. He gets on the throttle certainly as quick as the lead car does. The lead car is pulling over to the right. Whether it's in defence or it's saying, look, I don't want the pressure. Let me go. Well, there. Well,
yeah, so
that wasn't a pass. That was a gift.
Through into the lead of the race.
Maybe it's Fred Makovicky's birthday today, or maybe it's Steph Dusseldorp's birthday. That was a gift. Yeah. Nevertheless, the pace of this car, the Makovicky car, has clearly been the pace of the field. And that was, I don't think it was team orders per se. I think that was just intelligent driving from both drivers and an acknowledgement by Grégoire de Moustier that Fred Makovicky is being taken a second a lap out of my lap time once we had the pit stops. And therefore, it's in the interest of the team to let the quicker car win as long as I don't lose my second place. And you've got a 24-second advantage over the third-place car, which is Michael Bartels in the BMW Z4M, and another one of some disaster were to strike with 15.5 minutes to go. It's a McLaren 1-2.
Exactly. So Fred Makovicky then moves into the lead of the race. Second place is now the number 2 Hexis McLaren of Grégoire de Moustier. Third place is the battle, well, is a battle anyway. We've got a couple which we're now going to turn our attentions to. We're currently on board with Marc Basseng, looking back to Peter Cox behind us, and you can see Cox is pretty close actually to the back of the Mercedes. Basseng just coming to the inside line a little bit just to cover any late manoeuvre that Peter Cox might fancy. He's not going to fancy one, but with 15 minutes to go, we've still got plenty of battles going on here in the qualifying race. Remember, there are a few points up for grabs, 8 points for the winner and then a sliding scale downwards, but the predominant reason for this qualifying race is to set the grid for tomorrow's all-important championship race where all the big points are up for grabs.
Peter Cox, headlights on, the light is dropping down behind the hill that faces the pits here at the Navarra circuit, but he is going to face the same problem trying to deal with Marc Basseng that took him so many laps to deal with Nicky Pastorelli, and I suspect that Marc Basseng might be more belligerent about allowing the Lamborghini to take away that present 4th place. He does not want to give it up, even though the points for the qualifying race are relatively minor in comparison to the championship race. but it's a matter of honour and pride.
And we've still got this good old battle going on behind. So that is 6th place Nicky Pastorelli, ahead of Villander and Lauda.
But Mateus has been drawn into this battle.
Yeah.
He wasn't really a part of it, but because we're seeing the Ferrari really struggling to get away past Pastorelli in the Mercedes cleanly and efficiently, that's allowed Mateus to run up, go into the bigger three-way battle.
So through turn 13 comes Peter Cox. He worked hard on getting a good exit out of the final corner, which is what helped him get past Nicky Pastorelli. And look, he's able to take a wider line into that final corner again. So I don't know whether that's the Mercedes tentatively covering the inside or whether they're just taking a different route. But now you can see the Lamborghini starting to get closer. The bull run is on down into turn 1. He looks to the outside.
Yeah,
is he going to be able to stick it around the outside? No, he's not. Cut back into turn 3 is the possibility. Not quite yet.
No, I mean, Marc Bassin did everything you'd expect him to do. He put the Mercedes in the part of the racetrack the Lamborghini wanted, forcing the Lamborghini to go the long way around turn 1, and it is not an easy option. So he tried to make the cutback, but he wasn't sufficiently close to the tail of the Mercedes into turn 3. And again, his options around the racetrack are very limited. Primarily, they are on the straight up into turn 1, but he didn't get himself hooked up to the back of the Mercedes closely enough on the exit of turn 15 to make it really stick up into turn 1.
So this is the battle over 4th position. As you can see, the Mercedes ahead of the Lamborghini Gallardo. That's our 3rd place man, you can see just in front, the BMW. Then behind them, you've got that Pastorelli-Villander-Lauda battle. There's Pastorelli in the Mercedes, Villander in the Ferrari, and Lauda in the BMW. Then the two WRT Audis, Oliver Jarvis ahead of Stefano Telli, and completing the top 11 in this group of cars is Matt Halliday. We go on board then with Stefano Telli as he tries to close in on Oliver Jarvis up in front. But let's hope he doesn't do a Zolder. Last time those two were battling on circuit, they came together down at turn 9 at Zolder. But there's our race, well, there's our 2nd place man, Grégoire de Moustier.
But immediately now that Moustier has lost that lead, he has dropped down from the middle 1 minute 40s to a 1:41.2. And likewise, Fred Makiewicz, who was doing 39s, he's dropped into the lower 1 minute 40s. So the pace of the race is gradually being detuned, and I wonder whether again the team on the pit wall are advising the drivers, you've got a massive advantage, 25-second gap between 2nd and 3rd place. Just remember, we've got less than 11.5 minutes of this race remaining. We don't need to run hard for the remaining 11.5 minutes. More important, we get the 2 front row grid positions locked out to give us the maximum opportunity in the championship race on Sunday. On board again we go with Marc Bassin. He's got out of shape. Is this going to be the chance for the Lamborghini up the inside into turn 6? Peter Cox sends it up the inside, almost contact, but he's through, up into 4th position. There's nothing almost about it. There was. I mean, it was very light contact, but nonetheless. But that's motor racing. I've got no problem with that because the error came from Bassin, and he offered up the opportunity to Peter Cox, and he tried to shut the door, but he tried to shut it when it was too late as a consequence of that very, very small little error. So that means that up into 4th place goes the Lamborghini Gallardo of Peter Cox. The Mercedes are now running 5th and 6th in the hands of Marc Bassin and Nicky Pastorelli. Does Daryl Young look pleased? Yes, he does. So he is now, well, him and his teammate up into 4th place. 10 minutes, Peter Cox try and close in on Michael Bartels in front. That'll be an interesting fight, although the pair of them, Peter Cox was 0.3 of a second quicker than Michael Bartels in qualifying. If he can transfer that into a race, might have a chance, but he's going to have to lap very quickly. These could be the longest 10 minutes of Michael Bartels' racing career, or the shortest 10 minutes of we're saying Peter Cox's career, because when you're chasing and the clock's counting down, then you really are worried about. I want 15 minutes, not 10. Let's hear from Daryl Young.
Peter's certainly putting the pressure on. Do you think you'll be finishing on the podium?
No, hopefully. He's running really quick right now. It's a shame because we had a problem with the wheel nut in the pit stop, so we lost a lot of track position. So we had the speed to be further up, but we ended up fighting a lot now with a lot of cars. So he's running really quick, so maybe he has a chance.
Thank you.
So, Daryl Young, very, very satisfied with how things are turning out. Will he be even more satisfied when he's standing on the podium, which would be the first podium for him and Peter Cox? Albert Von Turn and Taxis and Thomas Enger had a podium
I mean,
in Nogaro.
Peter Cox was only 0.2 of a second quicker on that last lap in the hunt to get ahead or get into competition with Michael Bartels. That's not enough. We've now got 9 minutes of this race.
But he made the move on that last lap.
They did, and of course that compromises ultimately your lap time. So wait to see now what happens when they come across the line to complete their 30th lap to see whether Michael Bartels last lap 1 minute 40.9, Peter Cox's last lap 1 minute 40.7. I'd like to see Peter Cox doing a 1 minute 40.1 or 2. That's the only way he's really going to get into a position to put a serious challenge on Michael Bartels. And believe me, Michael Bartels is going to make that BMW as wide as, well, whatever it needs to be.
Absolutely. So, out of, a little bit running wide there, Stefano Telli. He's really, well, not struggling as per se, but you'd expect him to be maybe wringing a little bit more speed out of that Audi. Across the line comes Michael Bartels. 0.4 of a second came out of the advantage on that last lap. We stay on board with Stefano Telli quite rightly because it's a great shot coming down into turn 1. Is he still, presumably still flat on old tyres? Yes, he is. So that's Oliver Jarvis up in front of him, his teammate in the second Belgian Audi club, Team WRT Audi R8. There's nothing he can do about it, nothing he's been able to do about it for most of the race.
Just watching the driving style of Stefano Telli, it's a pretty effortless driving style. You know, some drivers look frantic behind the wheel, but there we just saw a moment of franticism. Oh, side by side, Lauda trying to get past Tony Villander, and Lauda using the opportunity that has been offered up to him, and that's all. And look how far back Villander has fallen from Nicky Pastorelli.
Yeah, he's really lost the pace. It was only 0.4 of a second that he lost out on that last lap. Here's Stefano Telli. Does he fancy sending one up the inside into the hairpin? Don't hit each other again, because that would be a massively awkward conversation in the Audi motorhome if that was to happen for 2 races in a row. And Lauda going to the outside now to try and get the better cutback. Villander very cleverly just slowing it down, parking it on the apex.
Absolutely, and that's what you do when you've got a problem. And clearly there's a problem with the Ferrari. It's fallen back from the tail of the Mercedes of Pastorelli. He's now got Lauda, the 2 Audis, and they've got Matt Halliday in the Porsche.
Yeah, so it's what is this, a 5-way train, isn't it, over 7th position, so crucial positions for qualifying. Late move from Stefano Telli, nearly got the clout in on Oliver Jarvis again. That could compromise. Well,
and that Halliday's got the benefit of all that. Yep. He's got ahead of Otelli on the run out of turn 15.
But watch Oliver Jarvis. Is he going to attack Matthias Lauda into the first corner? No, he didn't quite get as good a run as I thought he may have done. Into turn 1 they come. The gap between 3rd and 4th is now down to just 1 second with 6 minutes to go. So it's halved in the space of 2 laps.
As they say in tennis. Or golf. Or whatever.
Motor racing today. So
somebody's had a massive, they've taken a load of dust, dirt on the inside of the track. It's been cast across the exit of turn 4, but look into turn 7.
That's where Lauda tried to get the job done last time. Villander covered it, and he is absolutely driving that car like a bus, isn't he? He's using all his experience to stop Lauda getting the overlap. Here it comes, up the inside.
But Jarvis is the winner.
He's going to take them both. 3 abreast on the run down the back straight. There's not enough room for Villander to get onto the circuit. Their tyres are interlocked. The smoke comes up. 3 wide going down into the hairpin. A little bit of contact. I don't think Jarvis knew Villander was on the outside. Matt Halliday tries to force his way through on the inside. He gets past Villander. Matthias Lauda is the big winner. He has that 7th place.
And look at Halliday as well, trying to find a way around that. I mean, it's just madness. That and Tony Villander, he's trying to come back. There's been so much contact. I mean, this is like come dancing. I've never seen so much contact in sports.
Into the hairpin at turn 13 they come. It's all calmed down just a little bit, but I think you had a case there of it being 3 abreast with only the middle man and knowing it was 3 abreast.
And you could see, look again, the Ferrari just cutting on the inside of turn 14, throwing up loads of dirt and turfs, I should say, onto the circuit. And I mean, the 3 cars, they were so closely locked. There was blue smoke coming from the contact of the tyres, side to side to side.
So now we've got Halliday having a go at Villander up the inside, not close enough into the first corner. So after all that calms down, we've got the, well, if it has calmed down anyway, it certainly looked as though Matt Halliday has calmed himself down. We've still got the 2 McLarens out of the front. look at this. I mean, this is what I mean. Only Lauda knew that I think there were 3 abreast, because look, Jarvis starts to come across not knowing that Verlander's there.
Absolutely, and of course Matt Halliday's watching all this thing and lovely jubbly, bring it on. And again, it's Lauda who comes out of this a winner. He's the one that, of the 4 cars, makes the break out of turn 9 and has the consolidation into turn 10.
Absolutely incredible stuff. So, right, let's have a breather and see how we're doing. The gap between 3rd and 4th is down to 0.7 of a second now. Matt Halliday has got the bit between his teeth because Verlander must have a problem or something, because he was on the pace, and all of a sudden it's just massively dropped
He
off.
has a problem. What he's having to do is be very, very clever, and where he uses the Ferrari by being slow into a corner but not opening up an opportunity down the inside, and then accelerating and getting away from the guys. There we see the battle still going on. Oliver Jarvis trying all he can. Oh, I beg your pardon, Ortelli as it is. That's Matt Halliday.
Yeah, so all of a sudden Ortelli...
But Halliday's going to get the run. Is he going to get the run out of turn 13? No, he wasn't sufficiently far up. But the Porsche may well yet put Stefano Ortelli's race into jeopardy. Ortelli currently in 11th place.
Yeah, so...
In fact, he's in 10th place, because Halliday was 10th going across the line the last time. So somewhere or other, Ortelli has got ahead of Matt Halliday.
Yeah,
one lap ago was the opposite way around.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I didn't quite glimpse what happened there. I was looking down at the notes and then it all kicked off again. So Halliday looks to the outside. Is he going to try and send one around the outside? No, but surely Ortelli's taken too much speed into there. He gets it all scrubbed off in time. So good driving from Stefano Ortelli. The gap between 3rd and 4th extended again on that last lap, so it's now 0.9 of a second. It looks as though it's calmed down. But a bit more damage on Porsche.
The number 8 Porsche we did see with front end damage. Now number 9 has got a very similar damage to the front bumper. Porsche understeered a lot on that last lap through turn 3, and that really is going to be a handicap for Matt Halliday, because he's going to have to always wait before he can get the throttle open and get on the gas.
2.5 minutes remaining. We've got Fred McAvicky leading in the number 1 McLaren. The number 2 McLaren is in 2nd place, Gregoire de Moustier. Then we've got a second between 3rd and 4th, the BMW Z4 and the Lamborghini Gallardo. 5th and 6th are the 2 Al-Inkle Mercedes-Benzes. And then we've got everyone else going through the hairpin after what has been an absolutely cracking GT1 race and a frantic battle between the cars, squabbling over 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th and 11th. It's not over yet. Mike Parisi is watching on, not quite sure what to think, because any of these drivers could finish in any position at the moment. Coming out of the final corner, actually, 3rd and 4th have closed in again. It was a second, but I would suggest it's going to be less than that as they cross the line. The BMW now only 0.6 of a second ahead. This is going to be the penultimate lap of the race, I would suggest.
I think it is, and Peter Cox is really, again, he's been watching the clock tick down. He wants another 5 minutes. He wants to keep the pressure on Michael Bartels, but there's nothing he can do. Bartels is not going to respond to the pressure from Peter Cox. Watching Ortelli trying to come out. No, he wasn't close enough. But Matt Halliday, he still wants that position back.
He does so. Into turn 3 they come, and well, for some reason Ortelli hasn't been able to get right onto the back. Here we're seeing Verlander, and there's going to be a bit of a kiss.
Well, that's where the damage to the Porsche came
and this is where Ortelli
got through.
Right,
into turn 11.
Okay, so that must have either taken place on the screen whilst I was looking at my notes, or we did. Well, it's all kicking off again. So now Stefano Ortelli has managed to get past Tony Verlander and is now up into 9th position. Now, can Matt Halliday make his way past the AF Corsa Ferrari as well? That's going to be the interesting thing to see. 40 seconds remaining on the clock. The McLarens are going to be coming through soon to start their final lap of the race. Looking to the outside is the Porsche. This is going to give him the best exit. And we saw him attacking through this double left-hander a minute ago. But this is the battle of the third place.
Final lap.
The McLaren start their final lap then. Fred McAvicky in the lead, 5.4 seconds clear of Gregoire de Moustier. But onto the final lap. This is the battle for 3rd place. I fear as though Peter Cox hasn't quite got enough time enough pace.
By saying you fear, are you favouring Michael Bartels?
No. I'm just after exciting racing.
And we're going to say there is the race leader, Fred McAvicky, and a stunning job done by his teammate Steph Dusseldorf to get that car from the pit lane where it didn't start. It started from the back of the grid, effectively starting from the pit lane. And Steph Dusseldorf got that car up into the lead, into 2nd place before handing over to Fred McAvicky, who then just simply ran down his teammate Gregoire de Moustier. And well, I've been waiting for this to happen since this car was introduced as a road car just over a year ago. and it is finally fulfilling its potential. The trouble is, nobody wants to see a domination from a manufacturer. And
well,
you know what that's going to mean?
Exactly. So, Fred Makowiecki through the left-hander at turn 12, then up towards the right-hander at turn 13, the hairpin. This car was fairly new. It's new to GT1 this year, but the McLaren MP412C looks like it's finally going to win a race. It's struggled so far this year in GT1. It's had its issues in other endurance series, but Fred Makowiecki turns through turn 15, the final corner here at Navarra. The qualifying race win is going to go the way of Hex's McLaren. Hex is his first win since last season. Fred Makowiecki takes the checker flag with Steph Dusseldorp from the back of the grid. Second place going the way of Grégoire de Moustier and Alvaro Parente. Fantastic stuff.
And it's the first time a McLaren race car outside of a Grand Prix car has won an international FIA World Championship event since the days of the McLaren F1 LMs that raced in the early 90s at Le Mans and other great sports car races.
Third place goes the way of Jelmer Berman and Michael Bartels. They seem satisfied with that. Fourth, Peter Cox and Darrell O'Young after starting on pole, perhaps a bit of disappointment. Fifth and sixth for the two Mercedes. They won't be too displeased with that after their performance in free practice this morning. This is going to be a bit of a drag race across the line. Thomas Enger right up behind Matt Halliday as they finished that race. And in fact, on that last lap, well no, apart from Bartels and Cox, he was the fastest car of anyone was Thomas Enger. He finishes in 12th. Francesco Castellacci in 13th. Real shame for Andreas Zuber and Maxime Martin. The two Astons were really struggling. Let's hear from Philippe Dumas. There he is. What's he got to say?
Philippe, congratulations not only on your first win for the team this year, but the first win for McLaren MP412C.
Yeah. No, it's I'm so proud about the team and the hard job we did. Everybody can say we are really fast here, but again, we had 6 test days here. We had another test day at the beginning of the week and a lot of development with McLaren in Motorland. So it's on a good way. We didn't expect a thing like this, but you know, tomorrow is a race, and yeah, good job.
What does it mean for you to get that first victory for the McLaren MP412C?
It's cool. It's cool, but you know, it's quite strange because we worked so hard and we were quite far at the beginning of the year, and especially with the reliability. So we worked quite well. You know that we know the championship since a long time. We did a good job as a team and etc. So it's another story, but we'll see for the future.
Thank you.
First win for Hexis in GT1 since the championship race at the Sachsenring last year. That was round 4 of the championship. They went on to win the constructors' title, but not very often did they taste success on the top step of the podium.
No, and I mean, a great job by the whole Hexis team. They have really worked tirelessly. And also, I'd say, welcome to Philippe Dumas and the entire Hexis team to the McLaren family club. That is a club of winning drivers and team members.
Yeah, so the marshals here applaud as the cars come in the setting sun here in Navarra. It's a fantastic location for a race. Really enjoying the weekend so far. And we've got the championship race coming up tomorrow.
It was lovely having a race. You're starting at 7:45 or whatever time it started, nothing now at 8:45 or just short of 9 o'clock. The sun's still up in the sky, but it'll not be long before it's setting. It created an atmosphere.
Yeah, it was good.
And that's what I think was so much exciting. Apart from fantastic motor racing, there was a wonderful atmosphere, which is something you don't necessarily always have when you have daylight hours. It just was magic.
No, that's true. It is 10 to 9 here, local time. Almost time for bed, frankly, after a race like that.
There's no almost about it.
Fantastic stuff. Fred Makowiecki and Grégoire de Moustier congratulate each other. De Moustier, of course, doing the sensible thing, really, and letting Fred Makowiecki through. He knew Makowiecki had the pace. There you can see the Hexis guys running down. Steph Dusseldorp, that very lean figure towards the front in the white overalls, receives his winner's hat and parties with his 3 co-drivers. And the mechanics as well, absolutely delighted with how that has turned out. Unquestionably a 1-2 for McLaren. What a way to start their year. It felt like, didn't it, in qualifying, it felt like we were having same old, same old. Oh, McLaren's have got pace. Oh, it's broken down. Well, but finally, they've been able to do it.
I think the thing that was different was they've always had pace, but what they didn't have was the opportunity to display that pace because they were always being beset with niggling development problems with a brand new product, a brand new series to the McLaren MP412C. And it was inevitable that at some point it would all come together, and it's happened here at the third round of the FIA GT1 World Championship in Navarra.
Let's hear from our race winners, Fred Makovicky and Steph Dusseldorper with Haley.
Congratulations, Fred. Finally a win for you.
Yeah, it's fantastic for the team. They work really hard, and it's fantastic after the difficult qualify. My teammate did an amazing job during the stint, and we're coming back, and fantastic, really fantastic.
And Steph, what a stint by yourself. It's so exciting to watch. How is it for you racing on the track today?
Really fun. Yeah, what Fred said, we had some problems in qualifying, but we knew we had the speed, and I had a good start. We just had to be safe and not push too much, and I survived the first 2 laps, and after it was just easy going, and yeah, it was really fun, and I'm really happy with the result. We worked really hard, and I'm happy we could make the first GT1 World victory for McLaren.
And it's quite an achievement starting from the back of the grid.
Yeah, but I had some luck in the first 2 laps. A lot of cars were fighting and close to each other, so I had some luck, but we had the speed anyway. So.
Thank you, guys.
There's no denying they had the speed. Fred Makovicky came out of the pits, and on his first hot lap out of the pits set the fastest lap of the race in 1 minute 38.737,
and
faster than we've seen anyone go.
Remember, it was the number it was that car that had the bodywork, the left front bodywork, that was actually looking like it was beginning to detach, and they got through the race. It stayed in place. Whether they were able to put a bit of tape on that during the stop, I don't know.
And let us not discount the fact that the third place car, Michael Bartels and Jelmer Berman, have been slightly overshadowed, but they started from the pit lane. They were meant to be on the front row of the grid, but ended up, as I say, starting from the pit lane after a problem. So let's hear from our second place men, Grégoire de Moustier and Alvaro Parent. They're with Haley.
Grégoire, congratulations. How frustrating was it for you trying to take that win?
It's good, but Fred was faster, so I didn't try to fight with him. It's a teammate, so to have a crash together it could be a big bullshit, so I let him overtake and we finished the race.
Apologies for the swearing.
Sorry? No. Okay.
Thank you, Grégoire. Alvaro, what does it mean to you? You've been through the development process with the MP412C, and now here you are finishing on the podium and seeing your other teammate taking the first win for the McLaren.
It's really proud. We did really hard work. We did all the development work in Navarra, so if there was a place to be quick, it was here in Navarra, you know. And also for this team, we did a lot of pre-season testing here, so we had the perfect car for here, and no, really happy, you know. The team did a great job. Everything went perfect, and it was a 1-2 finish. So congratulations, McLaren, the team, my teammates, so everyone. It's a good day for us, and let's hope tomorrow will be also a good day.
How about tomorrow? Front row start for the team.
Exactly. Tomorrow another championship race, you know, very important. So it would be very good to be on the front row, you know, the best place to start. So yeah, focused for the start of the race, and then anxious for me to get in the car and try to do well, you know, and try to repeat the same result or one better. I mean, so that's important.
Thank you, guys.
Someone should probably tell Alvaro Parent that he's going to be starting the car, I think, tomorrow, isn't he? So what did he start today? I know he started today, didn't he? So perhaps not. But great performance from them. It's going to be, as I say, that's the crucial thing, really. We haven't even mentioned it. This means it's all McLaren front row for the race tomorrow.
Yes, but it's a different race, different time of day, different circumstances. You know, it's open to everybody. You start.
Let's hear from Michael Bartels and Jelmer Berman. Third place.
Jelmer, what a result, starting from the pit lane, and here you are finishing on the podium.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, just did the end of the warm-up lap to the grid, actually, and then we had a problem, just managed to get on the grid, went into the garage, and the guys did a good job because they fixed it somehow, and, you know, I was just focusing on driving, and it was quite amazing because you start with the cold tires in the beginning, so you have to bring them up gradually, and you start overtaking, and eventually the team said, come in this lap, come in this lap. I said, no, I tried to get the Audi, and if I get him, can I stay out? Yeah, okay. So it was quite funny, and managed to grab, to overtake the Audi into the back hairpin, and then I could push a couple of laps, and next thing I know, I was feeling really bad at the back of the garage. And then they told me, you're third, you guys are third. I said, no way. And I look at the screen and we were third, so it was pretty amazing.
And Michael, how difficult was it for you to get this podium finish?
Well, there was some pressure from behind, from the Lamborghini. I don't know which car it was, 24, 25, Cox or Engel. So, but I had the feeling it was a strong competitor. Yeah, when I came out of the pits, I was suddenly surprised that I was side by side with the number 38. I could manage to stay in front, because otherwise I think it was difficult to come in third. So, and then I passed by the first time, like he said, he was surprised. I was also surprised in Norway. The pit stop window is, everything is not finished, we are not third. 2 laps more, yeah, it was real. And then I was trying to defend my position. I was trying to save a little bit brakes and tires. And actually, I think I did my fastest lap in the last lap. So I was trying to save it as much as possible. And as I said yesterday or before in the press conference for the qualifying, that it's important to score on Saturday points. That's really important. It can be championship decided. So we came away with 2 blue eyes. Starting from the pit lane, so we should make it tomorrow not as much as dramatic.
Thank you, guys.
I hope they do make it just as dramatic tomorrow, and he's absolutely right, Michael Bartel's fastest lap of the race on that final lap. Let's have a look at the results. A McLaren 1-2, Fred Makavicki and Steph Dusseldorp, Gregoire de Moustier and Alvaro Parent. The BMW team completing the podium, Team Vita for One Racing. The Lamborghini Gallardo finishing in 4th place. Peter Cox and Darrell O'Young, as I say, good driving from them. Mark Bassang and Marcus Fingelhock in 5th, ahead of their teammates Nicky Pastorelli and Thomas Jaeger. They had an action-packed race. Well, an action-packed race goes for the rest of the field, and the rest of the names I'm about to read out. Oliver Jarvis just holding off teammate Stefan Ortelli towards the end. Tony Verlander 10th, Halliday 11th. Thomas Enger almost getting back into it. Car number 3 is under investigation, we're being told. That's Tony Verlander. Not 100% sure what that's for, but we'll let you know. Francesco Castellacci in 13th place. Martin and Zuber, disappointing day for the Aston Martins. Not 100% sure what went wrong there, because they had the pace, but we'll find out in the aftermath of this race, no doubt. The sun begins to set here at Navarra, and this means that this is the difference in the championship points. We've now got 3 driver pairings on 31 points. Bartel's, Halliday and Jaeger's cars all together at the top of the standings. So it was a pit lane start for Jelmer Berman, really putting him under pressure. The Ford GT made an absolutely fantastic start. Milos Pavlovic on the inside, tried to get through. In the end, I think he was a bit too ambitious to try and get past Mike Parisi. There was a little bit of a nudge between them. This is where Alvaro Parente dived up the inside, took the lead of the race.
And once he had that lead, well, effectively up until the point where Fred Makavicki took the lead away from that number 2 car, it was all about Alvaro Parente.
So we had some great racing action. We had the number 8 car of Dino Lunardi and Mike Parisi also in the 9 Porsche making their way through the field. Good move up into turn 6 from Steph Dusseldorp, who drove from the back of the grid to 2nd place by the time the pit stop windows came about. Also good moves from, well, an attempted good move anyway from Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. He not getting quite the best of Enzo Ede. McLaren trying to attack the Mercedes, but just took a little bit too much speed. Unfortunately, the Ford GT we lost towards the mid part of the race with some kind of mechanical problem. Hopefully that will be sorted for tomorrow. In the pit stops, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof gutted with
he's young. Look at him. Nicky, he's the mildest mannered man, and there was a stall, we believe, light a stall the engine, and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, he was absolutely, maybe that's his true character, maybe everything else is a disguise.
So into the first corner, there were a number of moves made. Peter Cox, once he took over in that Lamborghini, started to slice through the field. Tony Verlander fancied to look up the inside into turn 5, but that was 4, but that was never going to work in the end. And there was the change around for the lead. Fred Makovicky taking the lead from Gregoire de Mestier. Then Peter Cox managed to find his way past Mark Basseng. Daryl O'Young was fairly satisfied with third place, and then really it all kicked off in the midfield. 7th down to 11th, all battling hard. Ortelli almost taking out his teammate again.
Well, this battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th place was in fact maybe the highlight of the race in terms of just sheer spectacle and entertainment. We had at one point here, we said 3 cars, the Audi on the outside, the BMW, the meat and the sandwich, and Philander and the Ferrari, and blue smoke was coming off the tyres from the BMW. And but the winner of all this was Matthias Lauda.
But the winner of the race, and well, there was still more battling to go on. A little bit of a love kiss in the back of the Ferrari that allows Stefano Ortelli to get past, and Ortelli would then have an attack and manage to get past the Ferrari up the inside into turn 6. Good move from the Monegasque driver, but the McLaren took their first win in international motorsport. The Hexis Racing team completing a 1-2. They will start on the front row of the grid for tomorrow's championship race. You can join us for that at 1:45. My name's Jack Nicholls, John Watson alongside me, Haley Coxon in the pits. We'll see you tomorrow, 1:45 local time.